Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can see me. Just giving a few minutes for the meeting to get started. People are joining. Great. We'll just give it a few minutes for people to join us. Really excited to have you all with us today for World Youth Skills Day and this webinar looking at AI and digital skills. We've got a fantastic lineup for you today with our guest speakers. We'll be hearing from a range of different speakers on different issues, including Hannah Block, youth and resilience researcher, and Sarah Bunny from Harvard, looking at regenerating hope amid climate despair. We've also got Nuhad Awad from Greenpeace MENA. We'll be looking at digital storytelling and the role of media within campaigning and activism. And we've also got Kaluki Paul Matuku, who'll be looking at digital storytelling and resilience, thinking about how young people can leverage technology and digital skills for storytelling. We'll also be joined by Tess Kitao, who's a faith and environment communicator, and we'll be looking at strategy and accessibility and AI in communications. And we'll also be hearing from our dear friend Vasu Bandhu who's joining us right now from the States. I believe it's 4 a.m. where you are. So we're very excited to be holding this webinar today. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us. And we're just gonna introduce what this webinar is about. So today we're looking at the role digital technology plays in addressing some of the world's most pressing challenges. We're thinking about questions around how can AI support us as we try to build a more sustainable, just and resilient world. We're also thinking about how young people can leverage digital tools and skills to promote sustainability and encourage climate action efforts. And this World Youth Skills Day, the theme is youth empowerment through digital skills and AI. And we're thinking about how young people are shaping the future through digital competencies and emerging technologies such as AI. And as the global community faces urgent challenges, including climate change, conflict, resource degradation, rising inequalities, young people, especially those within faith communities, bring unique values and ethical perspectives and motivation for service and justice. So by adopting digital tools and skills, young people around the world may be able to contribute better to the interconnected crisis that we face. And faith-based youth specifically are often overlooked within tech and climate discourse. However, we represent a massive, significant portion of the world's population. So today's engagement, we are hoping to bridge the gap at the intersection between faith, youth, and digital skills, grounded in values-based ethics and morals, and thinking about how we can empower youth to advance climate resilience and sustainability. Before we begin, I just want to share some reflections on gratitude for technology, for the interconnectedness of our Earth and the globalized world that we live in. So we live in an increasingly interconnected world. Technological advancements have allowed us to take enormous leaps across industries and sectors, and has made the world smaller. So we now live in a global village brought closer by internet and communication channels, but this poses both opportunities and challenges to our societies, environment, and our planet at large. And with the advent of smartphones, we are constantly bombarded with new iterations of iPhones and technology to purchase, and we're flung into a machine of capitalism and consumerism. However, there are so many blessings to meditate on. I'm able to video call my cousin in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and bridge the oceans and continents which divide us. I can connect to this global network of young and emerging leaders within the Faith for Earth Youth Council at the touch of a button. And for me, technology has allowed for the inception and flourishing of vibrant, diverse communities that are unified by shared goals visions and dreams for a more just and sustainable world. And I believe that together we are able to mobilize this mass movement, which calls for change, an end to inequality, environmental degradation, and extractivist processes. And we're closer than ever now with these interconnected sort of tools that we have. And we're committed to use these tools for social good and impact. So I'd like us just to reflect for a moment on the benefits and blessings brought into our lives by digital technology and the ways in which our lives are made easier. And if anyone wants to share anything that springs to mind, just to get us started before we delve into our brilliant panel of speakers, please feel free to unmute our presenters and anyone in the audience if you'd like to share any reflections on the role of digital technology. Feel free to unmute.
One thing I recently read about that was so cool is that virtual reality is increasingly being used in therapy. So therapy for like post-traumatic stress disorder and different kinds of phobias to graduate exposure to different stimuli of great stress and concern for people. And it's really making a positive impact for many.
Thanks so much, Hannah, for sharing. We'll actually be going to you first, Hannah, who's joining us from, I believe you're in the States. And Hannah's going to be talking about regenerating hope amid climate-related despair. After Hannah, we will also be moving to Nohad Awad from Greenpeace MENA, who'll be talking about the role of digital media in campaigning and activism. So over to you, Hannah.
Well, thanks so much, Sarah. Hello, and thank you for having us here. It's always such a pleasure to return to the Faith for Earth Initiative and the Youth Council. My name is Hannah Block, and I'm a graduate student at the Harvard Graduate School of Education and a researcher at the Human Flourishing Program at Harvard, and a Youth Council advisor here at Faith for Earth. I'm joined here by my incredible colleague, Sarah Bunny, who is a graduate of the Harvard Graduate School of Education and works in education technology. In the spirit of this webinar, I can't share my screen, but I think perhaps Ismira has what I need to share. We are here to talk about Inner Animal, a digital intervention we are currently developing that is designed to help young people develop resilience through the cultivation of regenerative hope, especially in the context of climate grief, eco-anxiety, and frontline environmental concern. The experience features curriculum via interactive storytelling, practices of hope through cognitive behavioral techniques, and transformation through guided self-reflection in an app-based learning journey tailored for young people. By engaging with curriculum and embodied practice, learners will explore the many forms of hope that arise in the face of ecological uncertainty and develop strategies to sustain meaning, courage, and care over time. Paired with an inner animal that symbolizes their emotional landscape, players learn to navigate personal and planetary challenges, reframe their narratives, and practice cognitive and emotional skills that support long-term well-being, particularly within the framework of regenerative hope. This concept, drawn from climate education and effective science, frames hope not as passive optimism, but as dynamic and renewable that can be cultivated even amid uncertainty and change. This intervention creates an engaging and evidence-based approach to mind-body learning, rather than relying on traditional mental health tools, which may feel clinical, individualistic, or inaccessible to many. Inner Animal reimagines self-exploration as an interactive, communal, and playful process. It speaks directly to the complex emotional terrain young people now navigate, a world in ecological transition, where despair and action, grief and imagination coexist. So why is this so important? I think, as we all know, youth mental health is in crisis, with rising rates of anxiety, depression, and stress globally. According to the WHO, 1 in 7 adolescents experiences a mental health disorder, yet many do not have access to professional support. Schools and families struggle to provide preventive, accessible, and emotionally resonant strategies for resilience before young people reach crisis points. At the same time, more and more youth are confronting a profound emotional burden. The grief, anxiety, disorientation that come with witnessing environmental collapse, ecological injustice, and political inaction in real time. But young people can learn skills, knowledge, and competencies to help them live well in a world of internal and external crises. Hope is often seen as an abstract or emotional state, yet research shows it is a cognitive and behavioral skill that can be cultivated. Hopeful individuals are more likely to persist through challenges, engage in problem solving, and maintain emotional regulation in difficult situations. But most interventions to support mental health focus on treating distress rather than proactively developing learnable skills that can help to prevent loss of hope and negative affect and promote long-term well-being. Ultimately, today's youth face unprecedented uncertainty, climate anxiety, economic instability, social disconnection, and the pressures of digital life. Many report feeling powerless about the future, which can lead to passivity, disengagement, and emotional distress. Inner Animal equips young people with tools and practices to navigate uncertainty, reinforcing that emotions are temporary, challenges are surmountable, and that they can build hope in the face of internal and external challenges. I'll pass it on to my colleague, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm a graduate from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I'm a product manager at an ed tech company. I have worked for many years to leverage technology to build fun and engaging educational experiences for all ages. Much of my work centers around using cognitive science, intrinsic motivation, and fun design to build learning experiences that kids love. I think that the best assessments and curriculum are done when students want to engage with the tech and learn all on their own. With this in mind, I designed a lot of the translational experiences that bring the research of regenerative hope to a younger audience through Inner Animal. Our curriculum starts with a gamified exploration of hope as a skill. We've leveraged gaming mechanisms such as interactive mapping, animations, digital world building, and mini games to embed the academic understanding of our hope curriculum. By leveraging the intersection of curriculum, tech, and play, we believe that we're building intrinsic motivation into the learning experience. But we believe that an academic understanding that hope is regenerative is not enough. In order to develop skills for hope cultivation, students need to engage in practices of hope as well. With that in mind, we develop gaming mechanisms that will engage and support the practice of hope, like gratitude and journal-based reflections that students can build upon and watch grow over time. After the students complete their hope practice, we engage them in a conversation with their inner animal, otherwise known as our metacognitive chatbot. RAI practice helps learners reflect on their understanding of the curriculum and practice through targeted metacognitive questions. Metacognition is the process of thinking about your thinking. Learners who think about what they are learning are not only more likely to learn the material, they are also more likely to become thoughtful and proactive learners when they reach learning challenges. We have framed the Inner Animal model on Hattie and Temperley's work. The chatbot feedback is structured to answer 3 essential questions for learners. Where am I going? How am I going? And where to next? We believe that this model is more powerful than a standard chatbot. Current models will ask the next best question based on the feedback of the last prompt alone. Our model both responds to unique and dynamic responses of the learner and asks metacognitive questions to the learner based on the hope curriculum and practice that they just completed. This model is our current work in progress, and I have prompted it to respond to questions of eco-grief. Over time, the model would become smarter and more responsive to real interactions about climate change if that's something the user wanted to return and talk about with it. I'm going to read aloud some of the sample of a conversation about eco-grief that I had. It begins with the inner animal saying, I've been thinking about how you and your inner animal moved through that hope experience. Here's something I'd love to ask. When you thought about hope today, did it feel more like something you have or something that you do? What did you notice about that difference? I replied, hope today felt more like something I have, but I want to turn it into something that I do. I have been feeling a lot of eco-grief lately, and I'm thinking of starting a club. The inner animal responds, that's a really brave and meaningful step. Eco-grief is real, and it shows how deeply you care about the world. Wanting to start a club or take action means you've already moved towards regenerative hope, the kind that doesn't ignore the hard stuff, but chooses to care and create anyways. If your inner animal could help you with this, what do you think it would say or do to guide you through those heavy feelings and towards that hopeful action? I replied, I think it would tell me that grief and hope exist at the same time, and what I'm feeling is normal. Inner animal responds, that's such a wise and compassionate thing for you to say. Grief and hope really can live side by side, and when we let both be true, that's when regenerative hope starts to grow. It's like your inner animal reminding you that feeling deeply isn't a weakness, it's actually where a lot of strength comes from. Do you think that this kind of hope, where you honor your grief but still choose to act, could be something that you share with others in the club you're thinking of? How might how might this kind of hope help your friends or classmates who may also be struggling with similar feelings? I replied, I think a lot of people are feeling this way. Climate change is all over my Instagram, and it's something I talk about with my friends a lot. Inner animal replies, it sounds like you're really tuned in, not just to your own feelings, but what's happening around you. That shows a deep kind of collective hope when we realize we're not alone and we start to imagine what we can do together. Talking with friends, noticing what's going on your feed, means that you're already connected to a bigger conversation. What do you think would help your friends feel more hopeful, not in a fake way, but in a way that gives you energy and purpose, even when facing hard truths? I replied, maybe just knowing that we're not alone in dealing with this, seeing other people and other activists take action has made me feel hopeful. The model replies, that's beautiful, seeing others take action. Even small steps can be like sparks that light something inside of us. So through this turn of conversation, you can see that the model is able to weave in several kinds of hope from our curriculum: active, regenerative, communal, and it highlights a sensitivity to hope. It responds with a tie first between what learners are writing. So like a normal chatbot, it will say something to you based on the input that you just gave, but it will also tie in the experience of the curriculum and practice that the learner just went through to try to have them think about what they are experiencing in their lives in conversation with the curriculum. The questions are both responsive to the inputs and metacognitive, asking what the user thinks, how the user feels, and what the user could do next. By designing models that validate feelings, leverage key curricular insights, and ask metacognitive questions, we can build dynamic and custom tools to support learners in many kinds of social emotional learning. Looking forward, we believe that gamified curriculum and models that leverage the cognitive science of learning can be powerful tools to help students combat eco-grief and remain resilient and agentive in the face of existential threats like climate change.
Thank you, guys. And we can take questions now. I do have to hop off soon after this, so if you have any questions, we'd love to answer.
That was so brilliant. I am completely blown away by this incredible thing that you've created. My question is, what is one thing that you were surprised by in your process? Something that maybe you didn't anticipate that you were surprised by during this journey, and something that you're happy that you've learned?
Oh my gosh, so many things. um, I think coming from a very academic background, I was surprised and learned a lot when getting feedback from professionals in this space about how little teaching that you can actually have on apps. As we all know, people's attention spans, they're fairly short, and the amount of text they will actually consume in an app is very minimal. So having to take down like this huge amount of research that we did to create these evidence-based practices and try to consolidate it into learning experiences that are short, playful, and iterative. That was very difficult for me, at least. I didn't want to like sacrifice the research that we found, but it was a really cool process to then bring that into the apps, like not tell people, but show and like play with people.
Yeah, certainly from a technical perspective, I was surprised to, as I was building the model, navigate in between the age group that we're trying to target. I can only publicly share models that are aged for 13 and up, although our actual target audience is much younger. We're hoping to work with kids who are 10 to 13 and maybe even a little bit younger than that, because this age is really interested in exploring their inner world. And we think this is a great opportunity to provide a skill of hope to them at this junction. And so I'm navigating how to use the tools that are in the public domain, like custom GPTs, to within their age restrictions to try to still maintain a really playful copy, while being safe and validated for these younger audiences.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, I feel like this is something that even adults would benefit from, because I think that, even like young adults or sort of youth are also facing the same kind of climate anxiety, climate grief. Even as I was watching and I was seeing the on the screen the what the app looks like, it's it made me think that I would love to use something like this myself. And yeah, it's a brilliant to hear about your work and how you've, as Hannah said, like come to this from an evidence-based perspective. And but to make something so innovative and playful and attractive to younger audiences is really amazing. And I think this kind of tool is exactly the kind of initiative that we wanted to highlight today, and for World Youth Skills Day as well. I mean, it's really, really brilliant, and I hope that through this process it reaches many engaged users. What's the sort of like, are you planning to roll it out? Like, is it currently in development, so you're planning to roll it out in, what's the sort of time frame?
We hope in the coming months. Another lesson learned, all of this takes much longer than we anticipate. But yeah, hopefully in the coming months.
Okay, great. And then would that be sort of accessible for like global users, like wherever they are in the world? And
Yep. We aim to have it accessible either on mobile or desktop, um, for everyone.
excellent. We have a chat comment in the chat. Charlotte was asking, are you able to share a link, because I can't find it online? So I think that answers your question, Charlotte. Hopefully,
Yes, it's not quite
it will
active
be
yet.
available.
You guys are
But
getting a sneak peek.
We'll keep you
I mean,
posted.
we're so privileged to be able to see this in this kind of early stage. Does anyone else have any questions? Please feel free to unmute and just share. Give it a few seconds. If not, thank you so much for joining us. We are so honored to have you with us, and I was just really listening quite attentively and enjoying the presentation and hearing about your brilliant work. And we're wishing you the best for this venture, and hopefully it will continue to empower young people and support them with their grief. And I'm excited to hear more about the other projects you're working on as well. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And feel free to stay on. We've got a range of excellent panelists with us. I will also be doing the panel discussion between you guys a bit later, if that's all right. So please do stay on for that. And yeah, just thank you so much for joining us. That was like, I'm excited just hearing something like this, because I haven't come across an app like this before. So I know that Hannah, you've joined us a number of times speaking specifically on hope and resilience, but to hear it from this lens was really interesting.
Thanks so much, Sarah.
For bringing your colleague with you today as well.
I have to hop off, but it's been such a pleasure, and I look forward to watching the rest of this.
Well, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. See you later. Great. That was such an interesting presentation. So blessed to have Hannah and Sarah with us. So now we're going to be jumping straight into presentation on how to use digital media for campaigning and activism. We're joined by Nuhad Awad, a campaigner and global outreach coordinator for Ummah for Earth and Greenpeace MENA. We are so delighted to have you with us, Nuhad. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, please feel free to introduce yourself further and yeah, take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zahra, for the invitation. And I would like also to thank Alzamira and both teams at UNIP Faith for Earth and Bahu Trust for this opportunity to be here today in this important day where we are raising awareness on the importance of engaging youth in climate action and how we can do that digitally. And I am Nuhad Awad, Ummah for Earth campaigner and global outreach coordinator. And Ummah for Earth is an alliance-led project. We started as 5 organizations and now we are 51 organizational and individual allies working together to create a climate movement within Muslim communities. And when we started back in 2020, when we were discussing the idea, it was the era of COVID-19. So we were faced by this challenge and we couldn't or we didn't have a chance to work except digitally. So we launched the project as Ummah for Earth, and we did a story map, which called Ummah Stories. And this story map collected the grassroots testimonies and also showed how climate change intersects with faith and survival. People were sharing photos, were sharing arts, were sharing articles, short videos. And there were 2 types of stories of action, how they did things in order to preserve the environment and conserve it, and other things were stories of vulnerability and how did climate change affected their lives. So the abstract crisis returned or became personal. So lately we received a story from Indonesia also. It showed how she was from Sri. She with her parents go to the oceans and now she is not able from due to climate change to keep this, and they are not doing it again. So this amplified frontline communities, their struggles and what they are facing, and also it pushes policymakers to listen. Other thing that we use in our campaigning or digital campaigning is the social media. We have on a weekly basis social media posts related to our pushes. For example, if it's Ramadan or it's Hajj or COP, or we are having an offline event or webinar that we post around, we also have a campaign hashtag. So for example, there is Ummah for Earth that we use for Ramadan and Hajj, but we have Green Ramadan for Ramadan and Green Hajj 2025, for example, for this year. So this using the hashtags link faith practices to global trends and also link faith practices to systemic change. And this was obvious in the waste-free iftars that we did this year in 5 countries, Malaysia, Jordan, Egypt, Canada, and Morocco. So also we use digital media to respond to disasters. For example, Pakistan flood, we use Instagram, Facebook, X or Twitter previously to do that and to pressure leaders on exact time and to show how people are suffering and the things that they are facing. Moreover, we have at that time did for a lot of education and awareness work. For example, the Green Guide for Hajj and Umrah, we launched it in 4 languages. This year, we launched it in 5 other languages. We launched them in the UK House of Commons, and then we did local launches in Morocco, Nigeria, Pakistan. But at that time, when we started in 2021, we launched it digitally because sharing was free. PDFs were visually engaging. We used Instagram carousels. we were able to use the digital media for the Ramadan and for the Hajj toolkits to reach to mosque, to youth groups. And we tried to have designs that have bold visuals and captions for social media that have short text in order to get more youth on ground. And all of this, we kept doing it digitally till COP26 in Glasgow, where we went from online to on ground. And we solarized a mosque in Glasgow, the Glasgow Central Mosque, with 120 panels paid by our ally Islamic Relief worldwide. So, and this was not like a sudden. Before it, we had a report we worked on with the American University of Beirut on the importance of turning mosques on solar energy. And also we had viral posts about energy poverty. And now currently we are crowdfunding to solarize a mosque in Lebanon, Sidon, which is in the south of Lebanon. So we do this and we use posts in order to install solar panels on mosque, and we documented its impact through reels and through Q&As. And also we did a lot of webinars, for example, food waste in Ramadan. We did also webinars around the climate justice. We did webinars with imams, with the scholars, with scientists, and we streamed them on YouTube. So later they can become local workshops. And this happened by having 2 workshops in Lebanon offline after having the webinars online. And these workshops were one of them with in Akkar and the other one in Tripoli, one with imams around the Green Guide for Hajj and Umrah, and one with travel agencies around the same topic. And here I mentioned for you when we launched the project and we did Ummah, but at the beginning when we started meeting at the end of 2019, and we had a face-to-face meeting in January of 2020 in UK, it was Islam and the climate. It wasn't Ummah for Earth. And we moved from Islam and the climate to Ummah for Earth due to message testing. And that one was more academic, and that's the new name shows urgent and collective action by having the name Ummah. So words matter. And also we partnered with many organizations in the global south. We partnered with many indigenous people, and we worked with them online to showcase false solutions. And when we do planting, and for example, we did 2 planting activities in Jordan, one of them in Maisara forest and one of them in the Pin forest. And both of them, we never said that planting trees will save the environment, or like, let's do that to have zero carbon or neutral carbon. Never, ever. We did that because it is a sadaqah in Islam. And planting trees is charity, and this is what made us to do it. So this is how we try also to use media, digital work to expose false solutions, especially polluters that try to greenwash. So we need in our campaigns to center people, not jargon. Climate justice is about lives and not just data. Also, we need to be specific and not go into having big or like very wide. Okay, Ummah for Earth is creating a climate movement within Muslim communities. Okay, but how we are doing that? We need to say that like we are trying to achieve this by increasing investments in renewable energy and having divestment from fossil fuel. And indeed, we are saving the planet. And all of this weren't to happen if we weren't visual, and if we didn't have Instagram or Facebook to show our work and our website to show our reports. So all of this is, let's say, needed to mobilize youth. And digital activism is not just about posting or social media. It's building power. So every share, especially during Ramadan, I want to tell people, like, if you applied one of the things in the guide, please share with us, tag us. Every tag and every guide and every work can spark real world change. And here I would like to give you an example and close with it, is that we had launched an Islamic finance campaign in Dubai last November, and we have our team there. And at the same time, it had a report that we worked on with our with our partner, Green Initiative, Green Ethical Finance Initiative, Jeffy, and we also worked digitally for that. So we didn't launch it, even if we did message testing for Ummah for Earth before we launched it. We didn't launch the Islamic finance campaign before doing message testing. And it's an excellent tool to show how we use digital tools strategically for environmental advocacy. And after doing the message testing, to understand what would resonate with different audiences, and we did digital surveys, we did focus groups, our team discovered a significant potential to activate audiences in key regions as MENA region and Indonesia through a solution-oriented approach to private finance. And this research and message testing allowed to have a digital content that would speak meaningfully to our intended audience. And I would like to invite you to join Ummah for Earth, or as organization or individual allies. And we are very happy and glad to be able to mobilize youth and also be in this call. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Nohab. That was such an inspiring, motivating presentation. I feel like I still remember all our interactions in the past when we've been to climate protests together. I remember you from COP20. Was it COP21? COP20. Which one was it? No, COP26, I think. Not 21. In 2021, in Glasgow. I remember you leading the march and making noise for climate action. And I'll never forget the energy that you brought to the protest. It was unreal. And thank you for bringing that energy with you today as well. Do we have any questions from the audience? If anyone wants to ask Nahad any specific questions about her work with Ummah for Earth and Greenpeace, please feel free to raise your hand and unmute. I loved what you said. I've just written this down. You said digital activism is about building power. I think that's such an important reminder for us that, you know, social media can be used for entertainment, it can be used for passively, it can be used in different ways, but specifically when you're thinking about advocacy, it's about building that power, building that community, and amplifying the voices of you know, marginalized communities. So thank you so much for that. Do we have any questions from? We've got quite a few people who have joined us for this webinar. If we have any questions or comments, please feel free to unmute. I'm not going to start picking on people in the audience, although, I mean, I could. I don't think I will. Do you have any comments, suggestions, feedback, or questions for Nahad? Please feel free to unmute. I'll just give it a few minutes.
Zara, if I may,
Yes.
question for Nuhad. How do young people from Muslim communities globally work with Ummah for Earth? We've had a lot of interest from different youth groups, some in Nigeria, but across Africa, wanting to expand their work on, for example, Al Mizan, and working closer with other Muslim communities and groups. Is there an avenue to collaborate with you?
Thank you for your question. And indeed, there is, and indeed, we are already working with many youth. And as an alliance, we have organizations that are youth-led that are part of the alliance. For example, we have the Muhammadiyya youth in Indonesia, and also another youth organization in Nigeria, that we can organize together online events and offline events related to the work that we are doing. And for example, lately we worked with our ally, High Atlas Foundation, where they invited their interns that are mostly university students, and we launched the French language version of the Green Guide for Hajj and Umrah. This is, for example. We also do online events as webinars. For 2 years, we did a game around Ramadan, and it was Truth or Dare platform, where we were able to mobilize youth and we were able to get their interest in working for the environment and sharing with us what they are doing by being part and playing this game for 2 years. So it's either by gamification, it's either by having offline activities, joining our alliance, and having at the same time online activities as webinars that we co-organize as youth. And for previous years, previous years we had worked with our allies as MENA Youth Climate Network, as Arab Youth, AYVG, and Green Voices. So we worked with them to have in-COP events around youth, and also to have youth as Ummah for Earth being there on ground doing activities. So these are like some of the things that we can do, and if we are very open to collaborate with young people around the world, they can also join our newsletter or like join our supporters journey, and they can receive updates. And we are very open for collaboration, whatever the idea is. And currently, also like the latest thing, we received an invitation from one of the organization to do training around faith and climate action for MENA youth. One of the things that, but like we didn't agree on yet, but like, let me tell you about one of the things that we did for around that is we launched a campaigning course in English and in Arabic, and it shows the importance of having faith-based campaigning. It's available on our website for free, and also most of the people that registered for it is youth. And we did a training for 100% from the MENA region in Arabic on how to do solarizations for public building and how to campaign for that. Oh.
Thanks so much, Nahad. That was really inspiring to hear.
Also, maybe Zahra or anybody from the team can share my email with them so they can reach out for any question.
Great, I'll put it in the chat. Thank you so much, Nahad. Really, really inspiring and empowering presentation. Thank you so much for being with us. If we don't have any more questions, I think we're going to be moving on to our next speaker, inshallah. But thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to hear from you and to see you as well. I mean, I've seen you a few times recently, but yeah, great to see you again.
I'm very happy that we met again, and you are always inspiring. I like your enthusiasm, and I wish we meet face to face soon.
Inshallah, soon, yeah. Inshallah. It'd be great to see you.
Thank you.
Cool, excellent. So next up, along similar lines of digital storytelling, digital media, and resilience, we're going to be hearing from Kaluki Paul Matuku, who's the who's the founder of Keen International. He's going to be speaking about digital storytelling and resilience, thinking about how can young people leverage digital technology and skills for storytelling and resilience. Thank you so much for joining us, Kaluki. I think I can see you.
Thank you so much.
On the screen now. Yeah, please take it away. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Zahra. And a really great honor for me to again engage with people of faith, and especially the UNEP Faith for Art initiative. I really appreciate your time and outreach to me. Really, when we talk about young people, I always tell people that is where I find my most joy, and more so because, you know, when you think about all generations, the youth are the future, the youth are the current, the youth are the energy. And if we can find avenues to connect, to empower one another, and really allow young people to lead, we can learn so much from them. And this topic for me speaks so much, you know, digital storytelling and resilience. I'll start by just quoting Chimamanda Ngozi, the chair from Nigeria, a very renowned writer. And she says that the danger of a single story, it's not that it's not true. Most of the times, the danger is that it's not complete. And true to it, in the world today, we are seeing many people telling a one-sided story. We are seeing many people altering the truth and really just putting a particular bias. And what happens is when we distort the facts and actually focus on one biased story, we create a particular narrative. And she also goes ahead to say, you tell a people a particular story time and time again, and those people believe that story. And this is the thing we are seeing today, even in the wake of the conflicts we are witnessing across the world. It's because we have been fed with one-sided stories. It's because we've been told one side of the story. But for those of us, especially from faith communities, who really want to go beyond that one story and reach out to authentic people that are suffering and being impacted in these communities, then we actually have the opportunity to provide the alternative truth, the alternative other side of the story, and really leverage on the human dignity of these people. So to me, digital storytelling and resilience go hand in hand, because one, human societies from anywhere in the world that you think of have always used storytelling to bring about change, to really share wisdom from the old to the young and to the future. And we need to really see it for what it is. Stories have the power to build. Stories have the power to also kill. Stories have the power to instill hope, but they also have the power to create despair. Stories have the power to, instigate adaptation and resilience, but they also have the power to, make communities more vulnerable and, victims to the crisis itself. And so this topic for me speaks to what we can do. And I speak knowing that we're in this digital era where all of us, almost everyone across the world, has access to internet, access to a smartphone, or particular platforms and softwares that can actually help us leverage with the rest of the world. And especially for young people to be able to connect, learn from each other, and share our inspirations. So then how more can we use digital storytelling to, create more resilience? To just give you a few examples, and these are some of the things I've done as a storyteller, an impact storyteller myself, as a climate leader and an environmental scientist. There are a lot of, well, not a lot of them, but there's quite a number of digital avenues that we can use to actually create our stories for resilience. And the most common one for me is Canva. Canva has, existed to really support creatives and young people and communities that want to tell their stories differently with resources and materials that they can actually use to empower, to build powerful campaigns, to use digital resources to actually influence change. And how I use it for me is first, to design posters, to design presentations, to craft reports. And the fact that there is a free version, I believe most of us, even from a faith perspective, can really turn to Canva and use it to influence our campaigns. Why? Because graphics are very important, and Canva is giving us that option to actually already build up on what is existing. And that is the power of digital media. That's the power of digital storytelling. At times, it's not a question of redefining or getting a new wheel. It's just innovating with what we have, and especially what I say, think or create with the end in mind. For instance, technology should not be the one to take over humanity. No, technology should exist to just help, more like become a catalyst that we can use to leverage the solutions that we want to portray, the solutions that we want to see in the world. But it should never be seen as what is supposed to take over humanity, because, and maybe it's very relevant when it comes to robotics and AI right now. You can prompt AI to do something, and it will literally surprise you, give you a full report, a full research, and all of this. But really, when you think of it, there are human beings behind this AI, behind this technology, who have been taught time and time again so that they know what prompts can help them to create something. And that simple example shows you that we should not heavily rely on technology and artificial intelligence to just, take over humanity, but rather we should, use them to leverage and become catalysts towards what we want to achieve in the world. The next example I'd want to give is more on, think about Trello. Trello boards are being used by digital storytellers to actually create impact campaigns, plan their narratives, and really help them advocate better. They have access to, plans, schedules, and more digital platforms or resources that can actually help you to plan your campaign, put your key resources and materials that will help many people connect with, and also ensure that your digital storytelling is well planned out. Trace, TRACE, is also another digital platform that is actually helping many storytellers to track greenhouse gas emissions and, build evidence in data-backed storytelling for advocacy. And for those of you who want really key information and data to back your campaign and advocacy, I'll encourage you to just Google out Trace and see how you can leverage on the key data coming. And you can actually track carbon emissions from across the world, from key polluters, corporate sectors, and then use that to influence how they can bring about change. There is riverside.com, for instance. For many of you that want to also do podcasting, riverside.com exists to sort of, give you a free podcast recording and editing. And for me, that is very important because, audio podcasts, video podcasts are becoming a real, resource, and we need to actually use that avenue to also, make our stories and talk about what is impacting our communities, what resilience, options communities have and they are exploring, and therefore being able to talk about that which is transforming our communities. Africa VUCA network, for instance, it's more Pan-African and it's bringing together different networks that are working in climate advocacy and providing so many storytelling data and materials that are helping them to further advocate and push for the change that is needed, and many, many others. What I can say as I conclude is this: think about even the TikToks, the LinkedIns. All these are platforms for us to really engage and be a part of the change and really see to it that we can continue talking to the world, and from where we are influencing the world. Technology is there to be our ally. And for us as young people, we are at an age where a lot of this is almost free. We can create it and actually use the internet that we have to influence the world. I'll say this to just have my final submission on this. We're not just the future, we are the present. The technology era is there for us to actually show the world we are leaders. And if we are not waiting for them to give us the table, we are using digital storytelling platforms to influence the change. And especially from a faith perspective, we are the ones to bring hope, instill hope in action, and help to make the better world that we hope to see. Thank you so much. And back to you, Zahara.
Thanks so much, Kaluki. That was a really, really excellent and motivating presentation. I loved what you said. It was almost a poem, what you were saying about stories can kill and stories can instill hope. And can you repeat that line for me? The I just love that entire.
Stories. Yeah, more like stories have the power to kill, but they also have the power to create. They have the power to create hope, but they also have the power to create despair. They have the power to instill love, but they also have the power to create or have hatred. They have the power to make sustainable and resilient communities, but also have the power to render more people victims of the climate crisis. So we should look at a positive point of view and see them with the power that can actually bring hope, peace, kindness, and healing to our society.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's such a beautiful reminder that, words have power, words have meaning. The stories that we tell ourselves about the world that we live in, the stories that we tell ourselves about our own power and our own worth is so intrinsically important in how we navigate this earth that we find ourselves in. And I think it was really, really beautiful to hear from you and hear about the power of storytelling and the fact that young people can use these tools, leverage these tools for social action and for social good, and to raise awareness about global issues. Do we have any questions for Kaluki? If anyone wants to raise their hand in the chat, please feel free to raise your hands or ask in the chat any questions. Okay. Kaluki, I want to ask you, what is a challenge that you feel? What is the main barrier for young people to feel that they can do it, that they can take up sort of digital storytelling and share their stories or amplify the stories of others. What do you feel is the main barrier?
Um, Thank you for that. That's a very important question. And to be honest with you, I feel it's not just one main challenge. There's quite a myriad of challenges that young people today are facing. And of course, the first one will actually be access to internet. Even when we're talking about this being a digital era, we know communities like even in Palestine, many war-torn communities and countries, a lot of them don't have the luxury of accessibility and internet. So even though they want to actually engage with the world and tell us their digital stories, either their countries have censored the internet access, and so they cannot even share as much as they would want to, or even that access is not there. So for me, that is the biggest challenge for many of these young people, especially in the global south, in war-torn communities and in poor communities, and poor in this capitalistic sort of economic model that we are meant to believe today. Poverty has always been viewed from that capitalistic economic model. And so in that aspect alone, you already see the disparities that many young people already kicked out of this playing field. Then two, when it comes to resources themselves, many young people across the world actually want to influence change. They want to use digital storytelling to bring about change. But many times, maybe many of you have also experienced this. I'm happy that Zara has been in these climate conferences. And so you tend to tell your stories, and your stories are co-opted at times by very big global media. So many of us fundraise and have to sacrifice a lot to even get the monies to be in these platforms. And then when you go there to tell your story is tokenized, your story is co-opted. And I believe that is not fair. We need to have young people, indigenous people, communities that are actually coming from the grassroots levels to be able to have the freedom and the decency, to be given the decency and humanity to tell their stories in the most authentic forms and not to apologize for that. But the word as it is, it's censoring and filtering a lot of these authentic narratives and making this particular bias so that people and young people from certain parts of the world are seeing a certain way. So for me, resource and access is very important, and these are key challenges. That aspect is in terms of the sense of belonging. So young people are creating stories, but it sort of feels like we are being forced to be in this continuous whirlwind, or what I call the vicious cycle of pretense, where young people are honestly doing the stories, but then there's this world where you're meant to just do it to tick the box. And we've seen many campaigns that come, and then young people and communities are being asked to be a part of it. But when you interrogate the bottom line, these are not stories to amplify you. These are stories to actually help some people fundraise and make some decent money for themselves. And I tell people, honestly, we need to call out these. The storytellers who have the privilege, like myself, need to actually call out such malpractices and ensure that people that are reaching out to these communities, to these young people, have fair compensation, they have fair respect and IPR for these young people that are participating in the campaigns, and ensure that you're actually giving them platforms that are befitting them. Don't do it to just tick a box and for you to run away with the money that you get from these campaigns. Honestly honor the humanity, the dignity, and the decency that these young people bring. Because Zara, to be honest with you, a lot of the stories that go out there, they're very, very, they're very rich, they're very expensive. I don't think these people, young people, could even be fairly compensated. But it feels so bad when they give their all, they pour out their souls, and then only for people to how do I put it? To go missing or to literally block communication with these young people. And we need to call out such bad faith actors that are really taking advantage of young people and communities. And the young people themselves, we need to actually know that you are an expert in what you're doing. Do not beg them. They come to you, they have seen that you're an expert. If they must engage them, they must compensate you. Don't feel shy from actually asking for compensation. There is money out there. Demand it, because they're going to make a profit anyway. Sorry to sound like an activist, but I'm an activist.
No, that's everything you said. I mean, I wanted to click. I'm involved in a lot of poetry circles, so when we hear something we like, we click. So I was really tempted to start clicking with during your during your presentation. That was so brilliant. I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, it's it's really disappointing to hear about the tokenism that exists. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I think you're so right that a lot of people's stories are being co-opted for monetary gain, and there's a lot of, sadly, the sort of exoticization of people within the global south who are in poverty-stricken, war-torn contexts, and we're inundated with images of these things, and sometimes it does feel like it's just to tick a box or to drive donations for charities. I mean, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's complicated space to be in, but I think you're so right that there needs to be more awareness about these malpractices and how to fully address them. I was recently in the Rohingya refugee camps in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, and I was completely amazed by how little we're hearing about the what's going on there from a global perspective, especially in the West. Those stories of the young people that I've met there, and sort of there's 1.5 million refugees within the camps at the moment, and barely anyone is talking about it. And I feel like a few years ago they were, but I think again it just shows that these stories matter, and it depends on who has the power to tell our stories, and who's using digital platforms to raise awareness and amplify those voices. And sadly, I think some of these stories are getting left behind, or other stories come to the forefront. There are so many conflicting priorities globally, and people, especially in the activist space, in this advocacy space, I think there's a lot of burnout as well, in terms of people feeling overwhelmed with these atrocities that we're witnessing around the world. And I think a lot of activists or people who are advocating for marginalized communities are feeling like they can only pour energy into one crisis, whether that's Gaza or Sudan or Congo, and sort of putting all their eggs in one basket and efforts in one space. And I think people are feeling spread thin with a lot of this. And I think it's difficult. I think we have to be selective with our resources, with our time, with our energy, and how what we're pouring into. But I think everything you're saying is so important, and I think compensation is important too. It's key. We've got a hand up. Please feel free to unmute.
I tried to raise my hand, but I couldn't, and I have a question for Calico. Nuhad Awad is speaking. I wanted first to thank you for the nice presentation and the info that you shared. And we like now, let's say it's become a trend, think storytelling. There is webinars around that. There is workshops on how to do storytelling. But here I would like to ask for your advice. How to make storytelling even on social media posts. So we have a post with a limited caption letters that's also telling a story and linked to our supporters' journey, or like to our journey that we are going through the year. So this is my question, and I would like to hear from you around that. Over.
Thank you so much, Nuhad. And yeah, definitely, I feel when it comes to digital storytelling and the options we have with different social media platforms, we have to, they have their algorithms, and at times we are bound to stick with the character limits and the sort of for instance, you think about Instagram, and Instagram, it's more imagery and short videos. TikTok is more video. So if you try to get long captions and words, a lot of things will not pick. But then there is LinkedIn, that you can do more longer posts and then link, YouTube videos to that post. And then there's YouTube itself. You can think about shorts, you can think about small videos, or mini documentaries. So for me, I think that idea is how do we see what works best for us? Because again, different platforms work different for different people. For me, LinkedIn has worked mostly for me and Instagram. And recently, choosing TikTok because I've been told, and actually it's a true thing here in Africa, there are so many users on TikTok. So even though I know I'm not a Gen Z, but somehow I need to speak to that audience. So I found myself this year trying to actually learn how to even do the reels, how to engage on TikTok. It's a bit of a journey, but I know I'll get there. So maybe not my advice, but my one piece to you would be, first, be gracious to yourself. You cannot definitely, leverage all social media. I've recently had to even move away from X because I feel X is not how it was before. Twitter was very much an open space for everyone, but right now it seems it's being more censored and there's so much politics coming on. So even getting things to trend, it's more like they're killing the algorithm. And that again goes to the power of millionaires and rich people and how they try to take captive some of these social media platforms. So be kind to yourself. You don't have to post on every social media platform. Try to see whichever works for you and then go for it. Maybe to link that to something that Zara said. Sorry,
Kaliki, we've got 2 questions, 2 hands raised. So just if we can go to Kenneth, who has a question, and then there's Myra.
Okay.
So Kenneth, do you want to ask your question? Kenneth and Roberts had their hand raised. Would you like to say something? You're muted. If you'd like to unmute yourself.
Kenneth, you should be able to unmute now.
Okay, I think his hand is now down. So, Asmara, if you
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Just to Nuhad's question, because we've done, we communicate primarily through X and Instagram. But on X, we've had parent posts, and then started conversations within the comment of the post, just to keep the conversation going, and then bring in different views. And this is something that our colleague Gizan is excellent at, and previous colleagues that have supported the coalition with their social media. So I think that that's one good way, although the level of engagement on comments within a post on X has been significantly lower. It is something to consider. Maybe you might do it, Nuhad, in a better way with more engaging language. But as a form of information dissemination, we think this is how we can have, continue sharing similar information on the same topic, in spite of the character limit. Over.
Yeah, and maybe also considering that with X, there's always 4 things that I always try to advise people that think about the caption, think about the image, think about the link that you want people to check on call to action, and then think about that very the hit word that you want to use on that point. It's very important, and I like that you're also using the comment to help the conversation move forward. I'll encourage people to continue doing that. And honestly, I think there's so much more to do. There's Blue Sky that is coming as an alternative to X anyway. So for those of you who also find X to be a bit losing touch with their works, you can also check out Blue Sky. Many NGOs and corporates are also running there. So yeah, all the best with your advocacy and digital storytelling.
I think Kenneth has raised their hand again. Kenneth, would you like to share something?
Sarah, perhaps in the interest of time, Kenneth can put his question in the chat. We'd love to hear from you.
Kenneth, please put your question in the chat and we'll respond, hopefully. Kaluki, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate your contributions. And we're going to go on to our final speaker for today before we wrap up with our Q&A and panel discussion with all our speakers. So our last presentation will be from Tess Gitau. She is a faith and environment communicator who will be talking about strategy and accessibility and AI in communications. Tess, thank you so much for joining us. So I know you've had a very busy schedule, so I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zara, for that. And also, I'd like to thank our previous panelists for doing an amazing work, and especially at this juncture, Kaluki, for making my work a lot more easier when it comes to communications. So I'll probably most likely focus on AI in communications and also a bit of strategy. And to kick this off, just also to chip in to Asmaira's question about Faith for Earth and answering, just trying to continue the conversation forward in the comment section, doing an amazing job. And one thing that I've noticed as a social media manager and communicator is there's a difference between handling a personal brand and an organization's social media account, because if it's someone's personal account, you're able to comment on other people's posts, which also drives engagement because it means you are engaging with other people. So which means using your account, you're pushing more content to other people. And something that I saw with Instagram, Facebook, and also LinkedIn is that with the small organizations, or rather organizations that have smaller numbers, they do 50% to your old members, 50% to new audiences. So the more you interact with new audiences, the more your content is pushed out. But understanding also with an organization's account, you cannot sit and engage with other people going to individuals' account and commenting. That's also a limitation that prevents getting more engagement with new audiences. So just keeping it, just giving it one step at a time. And I know all is going to be well as we build authority, especially as Faith for Earth Youth Council in that area. So without any further ado, I'd like to move on to my presentation. And here I'd like to cover on strategy, what you can do with AI, what you can't do with AI, that is in short ethics, and also what we need to do as developing countries. I know countries in the global north, there's a lot, and also AI covers you a little bit more. So I'd like to focus on that, and also accessibility, with which I've seen Kaluki has covered a lot of it, and I am truly grateful. So with that, when it comes to strategy, especially now, I'd like to focus on personal brands, that is all of us individually. One thing that you can use AI for in communications, especially faith and environment, is trying to create your content. But one thing that I need to stress out, and we'll focus on the don'ts, is AI in whichever form, Chat, GPT, DeepSeek, it's not creative as you. Your source of imagination, that's your power when it comes to when you are working with AI. So what you can do is every time you're jotting down your ideas as they come, you can always put them down. You can always put them in ChatGPT or even DeepSeek in any of the AI platforms that you're using. Number one, to have it as a reminder. And the second thing is also to help you craft your content, because there are those people who schedule that content 2 weeks in advance, 1 month in advance. So having this content having it, yes, on AI, it could help you, number one, to arrange it and organize it and schedule it, because there's a way you can link Canva, there's a way also you can link LinkedIn to your social media platform, and you're able to upload them automatically. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, once you are consistent with your social media journey, you'll find that there are moments you'd want to repurpose content, that is recycling. So in this way, I know going through maybe your Excel sheet in your Google Doc could be a bit tiring. So you can just upload this on AI and you can ask it to help you one, look for it. So that is going to be as a form of a reminder to show you where that link is, what the story was all about, and going back now to do the work of repurposing that content and uploading it. So that is one there. Second thing that I've merged with it is the workflow. Just knowing how many times a week that you're going to be posting content. So having your Excel sheet, looking at it in terms of this is the topic that you're going to share. So also putting in the engagement rate. In this point, you're talking about who engaged, like in terms of likes, comments, and the impressions, who did it reach? So having all these figures in your Excel sheet will help you as you go to the next point in summary. So every month, as you're looking at what went well, what didn't go well, because there are those days you'll feel like your creative juices are flowing, and you know for sure from the bottom of your heart your post is going to do well, only to find out that at the end of the day you were expecting to get more engagement, with which also I'd like to say, let it not be a detractor, but I know at times it can be. Yeah, at the end of the month you look at it and you see, so what did I do well, what didn't I do well? Because there's no right way of doing this. It's a matter of going and learning your work, because at the end of the day, whatever you're posting online as an individual, it's more of that is your voice. There's a way I speak to Asmira, I've known Christian, and when you look at their post, you can see this is Christian posting, this is Asmira posting. So that individual voice is what we need, especially when it comes to AI, because you find that there are people who are using AI to respond to people, and also they are using AI to create content from scratch. Like you take everything from you just key in your idea and then you let it do the entire work. So I look at a story, a certain specific story that I encountered on social media, and why it's not that good, because number one, it muzzles your voice, and we need to have you and your work out there. So write content out of it. So yes, so once you have created, you've put in your ideas to help you remember, and also to summarize and to see what has worked. Then from that figures, that is, now we're looking at data analytics, you can create that content after doing your own summary and convert that into a LinkedIn post talking about what worked, what didn't work, how you felt about it. And I know there are people who are like, I don't think I need to show my vulnerability that much, because there's that element of you fear how people might perceive you, but you never know. It is through that vulnerability you might inspire someone, and someone might come into your DM and tell you, thank you so much, I really needed this information right now, because also I am trying to start on this journey, but I have been feeling so down, so low, and I actually stopped posting. It happened to me. I reached out to someone, and also there have been several people who've come to my DM to tell me, in my niche, this is what I've been feeling. Thank you so much for letting us know how this journey has been for you, and you might get a friend out of it. You never know. So let's strategize, and you can use AI to create content, or rather to help you create content. So what you can ethically do using AI, the first thing is to edit your content. Remember, when you're crafting from ground, always create from ground and then use it to edit, because with time you'll be able to create your voice. And what I mean by that is, as you're managing, let's say, personal brand and an organization's brand, I recommend to all the people that I work with and also my mentees is learn to develop your voice, because how you post on your individual platform is not how you're going to post on an organization's account. And let's say, for example, because my forte is in LinkedIn, when you look at LinkedIn, people write essays. And there's a tendency of, if you're to write essays on your personal platform, how do you now convert that essay into an organization's platform? If you don't know your voice, that is going to be a very blurry line, that when you look at an organization, you tell this person is speaking. And the reason you're saying the corporate voice is a bit too restrictive is because you need consistency. that's a communications department. So getting to know, let's say in a comms department, you're 10 people, and every time I look at your organizations and I see 10 different voices, now that's a bit conflicting. So that's where we get to see, like, as a person, you can carry a brand of an institution. And I know the bigger it is, the difficult now that becomes, but you can always make sure that you develop your voice so that posting into an organization's account, it's going to be something very distinctive for you, and you'll be able to crisscross and also bend the rules just a little bit. So that is it for when you're editing. Use AI to edit. The other thing is to use AI, especially for a personal platform, to look for correlations. In terms of faith and environment, what I've been using that for is to look at what Christianity talks about, the Muslim faith, the what Buddhism also says about caring for faith and environment. So it's able to pick that out quickly for me. Now, what is left for me to do is to fact check. That's why I love having the UNEP Faith for Art Youth Council. It's because I can sit down and easily ask, so how do I go about this? In the Quran, what do I need to check up on? And because some of us are good in memorizing, the Bible verses, the surah, they're able to help me, and it's very easy for me to go online and also to look at it, to look it up, to verify, and then now I can craft my content. And after crafting my content, I go back to editing. Then the other thing also I use AI for personally is to check what's there, and then now I develop my angle. You find that there are stories everywhere, and you might feel like, yes, I don't know what else to add, but there's a power in your own experience, because some things might look very similar, but your story, your own experience, that is where your angle that's where you get your angle from. Because you cannot say that you're having, all of us have similar experiences. There's that one thing that is different. And one thing that I've come to learn about social media is one post, one message, not 12,000 messages or 11 messages, just one message. If you're inviting people to attend the webinar, let it be, you're inviting people to attend your webinar. If at all it's something that you learned on faith and environment, you can put one lesson. The other lesson, put it on craft it for the next day. So that is going to help you become a consistent person posting online, and also people will able to follow your thought process. And also for you, you will learn to develop your voice and to craft content the way you would want people to be following you for. And I know that feels like that's a lot on your back, but always remember, people will get to follow you just to listen to your story. Because as we've mentioned, people go through a lot of problems and they need that 5 minutes of break. So you posting one post, one content, it will help them, find a way of even coming. And also the algorithm is going to push out your content more, and people will come to just want to learn more about what you are posting. The other thing is you can transcribe. Most people tend to do voiceovers and voice notes. So you can use Turbo AI that has like a limit of 3 per day to transcribe. And also you get that, you just go through, you cross-check it, and you're able to do whichever work that you have. Also, I can see it has translation from one language to another. So if it has your language, that's a good thing. So you can learn, you can cross-check and correct the errors. Voiceovers, there are AIs, and I'm trying to look for it. I'll send it to Asmira, and I know she'll be able to disseminate it much later. I've forgotten the name. It's an AI platform that I used to cartoonify myself, and also to describe, to give a thanks for an assembly that we had in Ghana for Sinesa. And there are platforms that you can use your voice to create content. If at all you feel a bit shy, just coming to camera and posting your own content, because there's that element of cringe, especially when you start. So you can start with your voice, and then you get to the visuals as you grow. Then the element of animating yourself, that is ChatGPT. I've used DeepSeek to cartoonify myself, and yeah, there's that element that you're going to talk about in developing countries and what you need to do more. But you can use AI to cartoonify yourself, and also you can use AI to, especially when you're asking it, especially when you're editing, sorry, to maintain your voice. Because if you've noticed, there's a way you can use AI and then it completely changes what you're talking about, and it has like a specific way of talking, you know, like it's very punchy and you can tell this is AI generated. So asking it to maintain your voice and tone, but this I normally encourage, if you can do that after you've identified your voice on social media, then please go ahead and use it and ask it to maintain it. So that is that. Looking at developing countries, one thing that I've seen and encountered, not me, and this is mostly through a conference that we attended as Kenyan journalists, is biasness. You find that there's that nuances that we still miss. So when you look at one angle, there's that element of, and I know this is a touchy subject when it comes to colonization. There are people who are very skeptical because they believe that colonization is not a one-time thing, but it is something that people, so when colonization happened, there people came and they learned our way of life and then it switched. And there's that group that still maintains that we need to use AI to our advantage by key in our details, or rather our story, rather, sorry, not our details, but our story. Because as we've said, in developing countries, like let's say from Kenya, we have like 69 languages, and this stems from the 40, I think we have 47 tribes in Kenya. So you find that there are those nuances that we don't have. AI can easily go to, let's say, like ChatGPT and DeepSeek. It can go up to Kiswahili, but it cannot go up to my mother tongue. So when it comes to identifying the nuances of culture, it needs us to key in our stories for it to learn, so that it can reflect us and it can enable us to work better with it, because there are those nuances in culture that it misses. So when it comes also, like let's say, for example, talking about we need to stop eating meat, rather. When we come to Kenya and looking at one of my communities that believes in keeping of animals and consuming them, there is that element of culture that it's going to come out very disrespectful. And if you were to try to put it in ChatGPT, you'll not be able to find that out. So it's more of an encouragement to go out and to key in all these details, so that at least once people from across the world, they're trying to find out this information, they'll be able to find out, and it can be a learning point, so that there's that element of respecting of other people's culture can come about. And just to remind us that, yes, our stories basically do shape us. So once you're able to share this information, we'll be able to, you know, gain empathy and also understanding where people are coming from, instead of just going one step at a time and, you know, saying things that are hurtful. So we normally say knowledge is power. And once we help other people by expressing and also sharing our details through this AI, we'll be able to communicate and also share our knowledge. That is accessibility. So one thing, rather on accessibility, just to encourage us, there are very many AI platforms. So the main thing is to check whether you have daily credits, weekly credits, and monthly credits. And going back to our first content strategizing, once you strategize in bulk, if at all you really need to use these platforms, what it can help you, you'll be able to categorize which one is more important and what do I need to key in, let's say, to Turbo AI, which has daily limits, to make sure that you get the transcription. And also, okay, there is a platform where you can create videos out of it. You key in, it has monthly credits, so it means it gives 1,000 credits, so you'll know what video to animate and also to upload your voice, to make sure that you're putting your content out. So just planning in advance to know what you can use. The other bit, as I conclude, is sharing free AI tools that are coming up to help to make sure that we are in the know, and also we are able to utilize all of this. So we see sharing is caring. So just share. If you see like a platform that has come up, or there's some that are free to use, and you know that people would gain from it, please do share. And also another thing is that I've found is using multiple AI tools, and I think all of us are doing it. You can go to DeepSeek and you can tunify yourself, and then you can use another video editor to make sure that you are yes, you're making that picture speak, and you're able to generate. So just using multiple AI to get, or rather to, yes, to achieve the goal that you have set. Then finally, what I'd like us to know also is to be aware of the data, our own personal data that we are sharing with these platforms, because at the end of the day, when you look at videos online, there's that fear of AI overtaking us because you don't know where it's going. So mine also is to encourage you to exercise caution. If you are comfortable, let's say, using ChatGPT and you stick to ChatGPT, that's fine. If you're a person that sticks to DeepSeek and that's okay with you, you can use it. So just making sure that you are not sharing too much of the information everywhere, so that people, whatever that goes on behind the scenes is a bit for you, your privacy is guarded. So with that, I'd like to say thank you so much, and I'd like to hand it over to Zara for questions. Over to you, Zara.
Thanks so much, Tess. That was really amazing, and I related to a lot of what you were saying, especially when about the burnout when it comes to posting, and sometimes feeling reluctant to post on social media, or not having the energy, and being able to use these tools to support us with our sort of social media work and building our personal brands. I found it really informative. Do we have any questions for Tess? I'm aware that we're going a little bit over time for what we had planned, but thank you for being patient with us. If we have any questions for Tess, please just raise your hand in the chat and unmute yourself. I think my main question for Tess is how do you get over the fear of being perceived when thinking about posting, and sort of, the reluctance or anxiety that comes with sometimes not wanting to post, not wanting to sort of share because there's a level of exposure to people's opinions and judgment. How do you get over that hurdle of sort of maybe not wanting to be perceived?
Thank you so much. Before I answer that question, I've remembered the AI that I use for converting image to text. That is Leonardo AI, and that is the one that you need. It's a monthly video AI generator that you can work on. So to answer on that, how do I get over it? The first thing that I've done, and especially I know this is applicable to all ladies, just talking about it to my friends, just sitting and just telling them how, like, I feel scared. I don't know what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm going to be judged. And one thing that I've come to realize is most of the people, especially when you're posting, the first people who get to see your content are your friends. If you go look at your post, you'll find that it's someone that you know. So like, for example, like Zara, you know that at the end of the day, one thing that personally I do to you is I'm rooting for you to continue communicating. And I know the issue normally gets to, what about those people who are just looking, they're not liking? What about them? So I've learned to rephrase it and say, I'm posting this for my friends. So there's one friend for me, there's one friend who gets online on Fridays, and she works in a remote area. And with that, she gets in on Friday to read my posts. So for the longest time, it used to be I am posting for her to read it online, so that when we meet in person, we have something to talk about. And also, one thing I know she wanted to learn is how to post on social media. So that was one thing. The second thing is filling it and posting it anyway. There are those days that you'd feel like I really don't want to post, and you're like, can I get just one reason I should post this because it feels too vulnerable? One thing I tell my mentees is it's okay if you can miss one day. Don't miss two. Don't miss two in a day. Post it, and then if you need to run away, then just log out of social media, because for your post to actually even gain traction, the encouragement is interact with other people's posts. And you'll find that those people who are being consistent online, they are those people who have gone through that anxiety and fear to an extent that they themselves, they stopped having that anxiety, not completely, but to some extent. So seeing someone who has gone through that journey, they'll be extending out more understanding, also more kindness. And you'll find them also posting, this is what I've been struggling with. You can reach out to them and tell them, thank you so much for posting this. And this is what I've been feeling. And you'll find that you'll gain even a follower who's going to always cheer you on. At least for me, that's what I do. And I've seen like around 10 more people that I had reached out to doing the same back to me. Yes. So it's getting, how do I say it? Going, just feeling the emotions and going through it, and getting like circles of friends who can encourage you on a constant to help you even post, or even checking in. Like, I've seen that you've not posted for the last 3 days. Are you okay? That's how you get like to move through it, because at the end of the day, you will get over it. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. I think that's something that a lot of us face within this sort of sector, and I think sometimes it is difficult. I mean, LinkedIn is a whole new kettle of fish for me that I think I posted for the first time. I don't really use. I'm more of an Instagram sort of user, but it's something I'm sort of trying to learn how to use. I think it's that fear of perception is like a big one. I think a lot of us face, or just feeling like the reluctance to post because just I don't know. I think a lot of people have this hesitation. So thank you for sharing your advice. Um, and yeah, if we have any more questions, I think just for the interest of time, I think it might be worth going into the Q&A for the whole panel. So if you, so the guest speakers who have joined us today, Nohad, I know Hannah's left us, Kaluki, Tess, Sarah, if you'd like to join us to basically ask each other questions. And I wanted to ask you guys a few things. Firstly, do you feel from hearing each other's presentations that there are opportunities to connect and advance the efforts of anyone that you've heard from today? Do you feel that there are opportunities for collaboration, or something that you've learned that you feel that you'll take with you in your future endeavors? Yeah, over to you guys to sort of ask each other questions about your work and discuss. And for anyone in the audience who would like to ask questions for our panelists.
I'd actually love to
First,
I'd love
Yeah,
to
please.
start. I feel like part of the curriculum that we have for the Hope content is focused right now on personal stories from the community, and I was super inspired to see and hear how much of the other panelists today spoke about personal narratives and how to share your voice. And I think there is in hearing you guys speak, a lot of really interesting opportunity to leverage more on the ground activists or people who want to platform their stories in some kind of way. On our app, we've been considering how to pull in stories from history of hope, and maybe it's worth looking to more current activists in the space in order to share their stories for inspiration. We've considered ways to locally have students share within community to develop communal hope, but I'm really inspired to hear that maybe an integration with social media or some other narrative device could really help bridge that in for other learners.
Thanks, Sarah. And maybe Sarah, and maybe I can also chime in and then say that firstly, I'm very honored because faith has a very strong connotation to influencing change and really shaping the world into more peace, more fairness, more kindness. And it's only faith communities who can actually summon a king and a president, a head of state, to kneel down, and they will kneel down to them. But you don't see that elsewhere. And that just shows the power that faith communities and religious engagements can actually shape the world towards peace, love, solidarity, and kindness. So from this conversation, from what I've heard from Sarah and the team, from Tess, Gitao, there's a lot we can leverage on AI, on technology and digital storytelling. And true to it, there's so much in our differences that we can leverage on to bring about solutions, to celebrate us from the diversity that we are, and really make a more hopeful world that we all desire to see and leave behind. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Tess, or Nohad, does anyone else want to share?
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you, Tess. Now you've muted yourself. Okay, now you're unmuted.
Yes. So I do beg your pardon. I don't know whether you can hear me because I'm having a problem getting to hear you. I just had Kaluki speak. Are you able to repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, so I was just asking, from what we've heard today of the other speakers, do you feel that there are opportunities to connect and collaborate with other speakers to advance your efforts, or individually within your respective circles? And do you feel that there are opportunities to collaborate? And just thinking about what we've learned today from our guest speakers and from the different contributions, thinking about that.
Yes. So there are very many ways that I've learned to the first speaker, the inner child, the application. So there are a lot of questions that I have on that, and I'm looking forward to seeing the application being launched and also sharing it within my community and also in the work that you're using, because we are more youth-based and also going to focus more with children, and also whatever that is belongs to children, also it can serve us as adults. And also with Kaluki, the way he has mentioned, like getting into TikTok, those are ways that as he gets to learn that, I am also interested in learning TikTok. It's something that I had started, so just taking it one step at a time, because as the Gen Zs are there, I call myself a zillennial because we're in that area. We are millennials, Gen Z. So yes, the zillennial kind of bit. We think like them, we act like millennials. So it's a place of just also exploring other social media platforms, because there's no one way of learning how to utilize a platform. You get to hear from other people's experiences. So getting to reach out to our fellow panelists and speakers, it is more powerful because it will help you get over hurdles and also make your new mistakes. Because one thing for sure is, once I have made a mistake and someone asks me a question, it means that they don't have to make the same mistake. They can make better and a different mistake that someone else can learn from, making us advance and move forward in the digital space, and especially using AI. Thank you so much, Zara.
Sorry,
Am
I've
I
just seen a
audible?
question in the
Oh,
chat.
dear.
I've just seen a question in the chat for Tess. I'm not sure if you want to jump on to answer it. It says, thank you so much, Teresa. I'm Inoy Glory from Cameroon. My question is, how can you find your social media voice? Are there exercises you can carry out as an individual to help your voice becoming better? If you want to respond to that.
Zahra, I wanted to answer your previous question, but I waited for Teresa to finish, and I wanted to say that, like the other speakers, were very helpful, going from Sarah and the game that they are preparing for, and it's very important to base our and even it may remind me of one of the UNEP campaigns where there is a tiger, where there is different animals that were used in order to call for protecting biodiversity. So using the animals and having this connection, and at the same time making it as a dialogue, is very helpful and is also a new way to connect youth. Kaliku, with all of the story and interesting info that he shared, is, let's say, at the core of what we do, because we are telling a story of climate justice, and it's very helpful that, and things can be built on, and this alone storytelling can lead us to do webinars for youth, to do on-ground workshops on how to transform the crises that we are facing into a story that shows agency. And AI, I think if we don't, anybody of us, or we don't start having or incorporating AI in our work, in 5 years we will not be present in the domain. And we will not exist, our work will not exist, because it's the future. And now many people, even if they are doing marketing for a shop, they are using AI to do videos and to do photos. So it is very critical how we use AI. I'm not saying, yalla, let's go and ask ChatGPT and let them write our strategy. This is not what I mean. What we can do is use AI in our social media posts, use AI to help us enhance our work, and use AI to bring the future or the things that can happen, and show them how things are, how it can be done. So this is my take on that, and I'm very happy that I'm with you in this meeting. And yes, that's it, over.
Thanks so much. Does anyone want to respond? I'm just aware of the timing, and we're going to be wrapping up shortly. We're going to do two final things before we do wrap up. I'm going to quickly share a link to Mentimeter, and I want you guys to think about one word that describes how technology supports you. And I'm going to give you guys access to this link so you can share. And we're going to create a little word cloud for us to see on the screen before I hand it over to Vasu to sort of end the webinar with a spiritual reflection. But just going to share the link in the chat. Hold on a second. Hold on, I'm just going to try and share my screen. Hold on one sec. Okay, so you go on menti.com. The code is okay, I'm going to put it in the chat. 4662. Sorry, I'm not able to share my screen right now. 4662. Just putting it in the chat because I'm not being able to share right now. 5256. You should be able to see the question on the screen. Are you able to see that? It should give you a you should be able to see this sort of word cloud. Sorry, let me just try and share again. Oh, okay, it's working now. Sorry about that. Are you guys able to see my screen? Hopefully you are. Okay, brilliant. I just want to show you guys the different ways in which technology supports us. Able to share.
I added 3 words. Hopefully that's not counted.
Thanks. Why I'm not able to present full screen. Technology is really not supporting me right now. It's really just, oh God. Sorry for this, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna stop sharing for a sec. Maybe it will sort itself out. Okay, I'm going to try and share again so you can see the responses that are coming through. Thanks for sharing that. This is like in real time struggling with. Okay, cool. So there we have it. I hope you can see that. Thinking about how digital technology supports us. So social media and connect, solutions, creativity. We've got the word empowering, connection, access, innovation, amplification, community, future, connected. And I want to add, there's joy, bridging distance, and having access to our family members and our friends around the world, like we are right now. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'm gonna stop sharing. I don't think we're getting any more responses at the moment, but thank you so much for that. I want to thank you all for supporting us with this webinar. It's been so amazing. I feel like there's been some really enriching contributions and dialogue between us all, and I really want to thank you all for your time and for joining us for World Youth Skills Day. I think this in and of itself just shows us, I think of us all as young people here joining us, and we are the youth, we are the people who are taking forward these digital skills and opportunities to make an impact on our world. And I want to pass it on to our dear friend Vasu, who will be sharing spiritual reflection and meditation for us to end the webinar. And I want to thank you all for your time. So Vasu, please feel free to unmute.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you so much, dear friends. Today we are very happy to learn from you, Hannah, Sarah, about the curriculum to support the well-being, hope, and dynamic renewal. And from you, Nohat, from Greenpeace MENA, about the international engagement using digital media for campaign and activism. And we are grateful for learning from you, Kaluki, from the digital storytelling and resilience. And from you, Tess, about the strategy and accessibility on AI and communications. So we can see that digital technology could play a key role for the global solutions. It's crucial to address the challenges that we see in climate change and inequality. And it's offering us tools for communication, data analysis, and of course, innovative solutions. So we hope that this conversation continue in our local communities and here in the global community in how young people globally can collaborate on climate action using digital tools. So we recognize today our interconnection and interdependence. Therefore, I invite you to take just 10 seconds of silence, to close your eyes just for 10 seconds, and to reflect on what we hear today. And now we invite you to open your eyes. And with this time of silence, we honor all diverse religions who are part of this Faith for Earth Youth Council. We honor and we appreciate all identities. And we appreciate your support, the support that all religions and all organizations give to the young people for innovation. At the Faith for Earth Youth Council, Sarah, Christian, Asmara, everybody, and myself are here to support these conversations. So we appreciate this time together. And thank you so much, Sarah. I'm coming back to you.
Thank you so much, Masu. It's such an honor to hear from you. And I know I don't even know what time it is for you right now. Is it 5 o'clock in the morning? Thank you so much for being with us throughout this whole journey and today's webinar. I feel really grateful for this space that we've all shared together. And all of your contributions. I feel like I've learned so much and I'm taking a lot of motivation and inspiration from all of you. And I just want to big shout out, thank you to Asmira, Marit, Marguerite, Dr. Iyad, the whole Faith for Earth team who have supported us with putting this webinar together and for all of your hard work and efforts and everyone who's joined us, Nuhad, Tess, Aluki, Sarah, Hannah, Vasu. Thank you so much for joining us, and I think we'll end the webinar there. And yeah, we really appreciate you all for joining us, and please keep in touch with each other and keep sharing your stories. And yeah, thank you so much. Peace be with you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you.